Hi, everybody. Welcome to Friday night. Got a whole show packed full of true crime for you tonight. Don't go anywhere. We're going to start here. Did you watch that show on Netflix this summer called Amy Bradley is Missing? I was absolutely obsessed with this case. It's almost 3 decades old. This young woman goes on vacation with her own family. They're all staying in the same stateroom. And between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning, she is gone, vanished. At 5:30 in the morning, Dad wakes up, sees her on the balcony, goes back to sleep, and then suddenly she's gone. But not what you think, not necessarily overboard. She's spotted all over the ship, right, with some of the staff. And then she's spotted in some of the Caribbean islands by people who say she was trafficked, taken off that ship. Tonight, the private investigator who's been working with the family for the last 4 years is going to speak with us. He's talking for the first time about new theories in this case, and guess what? He says he has information that Amy Bradley is alive. Going to talk with him live in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Also, I know you think I'm repeating myself when I tell you a mother is accused in Pontiac, Michigan of neglecting her 3 kids, leaving them abandoned, little kids, leaving them abandoned in a house filled with filth and squalor and no running water. But guess what? It is not the same story that you think you've heard before. This is a brand new story. And it's the second time in a year in Pontiac, Michigan. Rotting food, overflowing toilets, and reports the kids were forced to use a cardboard box for a toilet. We're going to speak with the sheriff and find out what is in store for the mom who left her kids like this. All right. Also, I think if you were watching last night, you probably saw a case that made me a little hot under the collar. Ariana Grande was bum rushed on the Yellow Brick Road carpet. This is a premiere in Singapore. Look at this guy. Ass. He thinks it's a big deal for his Instagram page to rush the reddish, yellow carpet and grab Ariana Grande and really kind of manhandle her till Cynthia Erivo gives him, a run for his money. Well, guess what? If you were as annoyed as I was with that story, you're going to feel so much better when I tell you what's in store for this guy, because he did this in Singapore. And the last time I covered a crime in Singapore, it was a guy named Michael Fay who was sentenced to be caned, as in whipped with a cane for something pretty minor, just like petty vandalism as a teenager. Yeah, so what do you think is in store for the idiot Instagrammer who manhandled Ariana Grande and terrified her? All that coming up just ahead. Let's start here, though, with what could be a huge development in the search for Amy Bradley. If you saw that wildly popular Netflix doc this summer called Amy Bradley's Missing, you know how mystifying this decades-long case has been. Amy disappeared off of a cruise ship back in 1998, seemingly right out of her parents' cabin. The search for Amy has taken police and private investigators and her family all throughout the Caribbean, as theories have been floated and dismissed almost every year. Some people said she must have fallen overboard just before the ship docked at Curacao. Others said she took off from a loving family who were on vacation all together. Still others have suggested Amy may have been kidnapped and then secreted off of that ship.
You still have several scenarios. Many things could have occurred. Did she inadvertently fall off? Wasn't feeling well, felt sick, by mistake, was on the balcony, fell off into the water. Did she commit suicide? Was furniture moved? Did she step on something? And did she jump overboard? The sliding door on the balcony was ajar. Did she walk back through? Did she go up to the deck to watch the sunrise? Did she go out to smoke? Did something occur when she was up on the deck? Did she meet somebody? Whether it was that night and the previous night. Did she walk off the ship, never return? Did something nefarious occur where she smuggled off the ship? That puzzle is extremely difficult to put together.
Well, now, tonight, for the first time, a private investigator who's been working with Amy's family for years is revealing clues. that suggests that Amy is indeed alive and may still be in the hands of dangerous traffickers who had help from the local police 27 years ago. He says something the Netflix documentary did not tell you was that a clerk at the Curacao Police Department said that he had seen Amy on the island several times. And get this, that he knew where she was. The clerk said he recognized Amy because of the Tasmanian devil tattoo on her shoulder, and that she was, quote, fine, but different. He said she didn't smile and appeared to be drugged. He then arranged for the sale of Amy back to her parents and Interpol for $50,000. All that was back in 1999, but when it came time to actually make the transfer, the clerk backed out. And just last year, the family's private investigator, hired by the family, tracked that clerk down. His name is Herman Goylo, and when questioned, clerk said that Amy was still alive, that he'd seen her in 2016, but that, quote, they have her hooked on drugs, and that she was, quote, with a very dangerous trafficker. Joining me now is that private investigator who's now speaking publicly about his recent findings. Jim Carey, along with his son, have been working pro bono with Amy's family for the last 4 years. Jim notably also worked on the Natalie Holloway case. Jim, thank you so much for being here this evening. This clerk
Thank you
with
for having me,
the Curacao, I am so bewildered by this report that the clerk with the Curacao Police Department was talking to you and the family and Interpol and prepared to make a deal before ghosting you. But now you've sort of reconnected with him. Is he cooperating now? Is he talking now?
You know, he's not. And when we went down there in November, he was tormenting the family back in 1999. He was having conversations with the Ivor and Ron and the whole family saying she was alive. And this went on for 28 years. So we finally tracked him down, and I went to his house, but he wasn't there. So we waited for him at a meat area, and we talked to him, myself, another investigator, Earl Nance, and my son, Brody. And we gave him the opportunity to tell us what he wants to tell us. And he said, she's alive. I seen her a couple years ago. And I gave him, I said, look, Herman, I'll give you the tell me the truth. And I asked him 20 times. He said, she's alive. So he continues to say that.
So let me ask you, I mean, look, you're old hat at this. You worked on Natalie Holloway, which was one of the most vexing cases in my history of 38 years of doing crime reporting. What do you think was so convincing about Herman Goylo back in 1999 and then also again in 2024?
Well, I wasn't there in 99, but the convincing element I saw was reading back on those old reports and his conversations with the family. They haven't changed. A lot of them are really consistent. And I fact-checked them, and I checked with CIs, and some are truths and some are lies. He's that type of guy. He'll tell you a lie, but he'll tell you the truth. It's almost like a game with him. So I believe him. I mean, why would he want to be involved 28 years later? He's still implicated.
That's really what I think. Why would anybody want to embroil themselves in something so tragic? What would they get out of it? Although listen, in our line of business, there are all types out there. What about the FBI? How helpful have they been? How interested in this information have they been?
Like I said, I wasn't back there when it originated, but the FBI, they're a busy organization. I understand that. They don't have much communication with the family. I think they have a new agent who's going to be attached to it. But other than that, I don't know too much about them.
So I'll tell you, I was transfixed by the Netflix series this summer, and when I learned that there's this whole other piece of the puzzle, the $50,000, offering to get Amy, the contract that Interpol put together to pay out the 50 and get Amy from this guy, Herman Goylo. I couldn't understand why the Netflix documentary didn't include that. Do you know why?
I do not. But what happened was the family got the $50,000 from the PNC Bank. They had it in a check. He signed a contract. He actually signed it that he would tell the family where she is. He didn't want the check because he wanted cash, but we explained to him you can't bring cash on a plane, $50,000 to another island. So he broke into the Interpol agent's hotel room. He got in there and ransacked the room looking for the money. So the Interpol guys left the next day. So that's the type of guy we're dealing with.
Which could mean anything. Could be telling the truth, could be just a scammer extraordinaire. We've all seen them. Let me talk about the evidence on the ship. There's just so much information, it's hard sometimes to keep it all straight. But a witness saw a member of the house band. He went by the name Yellow because of the color of his hair. His name was Alistair Douglas. Amy had been dancing with him earlier in the evening with her brother Brad. They'd all come back home eventually, and everybody had gone to bed. Amy went out to the, through the sliding glass door to the ship balcony and was seen sleeping on the lawn chair by her dad, who woke up and peeked out at 5:30 in the morning. But at 6 a.m., the witness says that she sees this guy, Alistair Douglas, I think he was the bass player for the band, giving Amy a brown drink at about 6 o'clock in the morning. So take me from that moment and what your theory is happened after that moment.
Actually, there was 3 people that actually saw Amy and Douglas going up the glass elevator, which is crazy. 3 people actually saw her. 2 young girls and then an older girl. She happened to be sick, so she stayed in the disco during the day because she couldn't go out in the sun. So she saw him go up. She saw Douglas come back down and go to the bar and get a dark-colored drink, bring it back up to Amy, and turn the music up. She says he turned the music up really loud. 10 minutes later, Douglas comes down alone, and there's no sight of Amy. Nowhere to be found.
Do you think, well, tell me your theory about what you think would have happened next. If your theory is true and that if it's possible she was secreted off that ship, what do you think happened after the brown drink?
I think she was drugged, and I think there was another person up there waiting, and I actually thought he probably got on when they docked in Aruba the night before, and he stayed on the ship. They didn't check. I think they drugged her, put her in either a musical huge box or container, brought her down the service elevator, which is right there. It goes right down the ship and out the cargo area. When they pull into port, they get rid of all the clothing. They new towels, new food. They unload trash. I think she was in one of those, and they took her away.
And you think that Alistair Douglas was involved in this other than the drugging?
He was the last person seen with her, and he's constantly lied about his whereabouts that night. So I'm about 100% sure he knows something, and he's not telling. Even his daughter.
Wasn't there? Yeah, I've interviewed his daughter, and she, she wouldn't go so far as say that her father did something, but she had her suspicions. But is it true that a band member came to Alistair Douglas's home shortly after the voyage and said something along the lines of, Yellow did something bad?
Yeah, it is. He when Yellow got back and this guy got back, Desmond, he went up to the girlfriend and says, "Look, Yellow did something bad, very bad," and then he left. And then the girlfriend had a conversation with Yellow, and that's when they saw all the photos in a big bag of all happening Caucasian girls, and they saw Amy's picture with her brother Brad. And that's coming right from the person who saw it.
Let's talk about 2 other tourist sightings that you believe are quite credible. One is a Canadian tourist who was on a diving trip who says, "I saw Amy Bradley on a beach in Curacao." I think he was actually diving with someone, and he believes it's Amy Bradley because she fits the description. I believe the tattoo may have come into play with that identification as well, and that the woman he saw was scared and with, I think, 2 other large guys and wasn't able to speak to them. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was about 6 months after she was taken. It was in August of '98. They were at Porto Marie. He's a diver from Canada, and he was with his friend. They were taking off doing their freshwater cleanup for their gear when the 2 males and supposedly the girl looked like Amy walked up. And he walked right towards them. And remember, he didn't know about the missing girl at the time, but he thought it was odd. And he saw the tattoo. he saw a watch that no one would know because Amy's boyfriend had given it to her before they left. And then months later, he saw it on I think a People magazine, and he goes, "I saw that girl. I know that girl." And then he reported to the FBI.
There's another one in. Yeah, there's another one in Barbados in 2005 as well. I want to ask you about something very important. Netflix released information I think you're upset about, the fact that the family has a website, and it's a website where you all have been tracking who comes in, what addresses come in, and that there's been a curious address in the Barbados, a place where she's been spotted, that comes in every Christmas and Thanksgiving. And you're worried that because that information was put out there by Netflix, you may not be able to track that anymore. And we're coming up on Thanksgiving. Are you hopeful that you'll get a ping this Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Well, I will say that it wasn't Netflix's fault. We put it out there. We probably shouldn't have put it out there, but we did. The old IP hits we get, those are the ones we are really looking at, closer to middle 2000s, and we're working on that, and we're working on getting exact areas. So we're okay with that, I think.
Well, listen, Jim Carrey, stay close to us on this, and I sure hope that you're able to get some traction on this man, because others, a taxi driver in Curacao who seemingly was involved has now since died and taken his secrets, if he has them, to the grave. So let's hope that doesn't happen with this former clerk. Thank you for being on here tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Ashleigh. Thank you.
Keep us posted for sure. All right, folks, coming up, 3 young kids in Michigan abandoned by their mom to live in squalor, forced to use a cardboard box as a toilet. If you think you've heard the story before, you're only half right, because it's happened for a second time in the very same town. Pictures are one thing, and these are awful, but it is quite another to see this in person. The sheriff in Pontiac is live with me next. And don't forget to check out my podcast, Drop Dead Serious. Lots of in-depth coverage of the stories we cover right here on the show, plus a couple of true crime stories you may not have heard before, like the curious case of Jack and Lily Sullivan, 2 little kids who disappeared right out of their home, vanished without a trace. And the usual suspects, they just didn't pan out. Drop Dead Serious on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Back in just a couple. Just when you think it can't happen again, you open the police blotter from Pontiac, Michigan. For the second time this year, a mother there is accused of this: abandoning her little kids, 3 of them, in absolute filth and squalor. When it happened the first time, the landlord called police because he hadn't been paid rent in months. But this time, it was one of the little kids who called the police because she was scared someone was trying to break in and her mom wasn't there. When the officers arrived, they found a 12-year-old girl and her 9-year-old brother and sister alone in this. I think it's safe to say it's a house of horrors. The apartment was littered with rotting food, garbage, and feces, both human and animal. There's the fridge. Don't think it's working. Police say there was no working plumbing either. And that's why the children were using a cardboard box as a toilet. You can see the condition of the toilet in that video. In some of the pictures, you can even see bugs flying all around the filth. 3 cats were also in the home. The children told police that they had not seen their mother since the day before. So when police tracked her down, they charged her with 3 counts of child abuse, which means 31-year-old Tariamas Johnson could be facing 10 years in prison. And I don't hold out a lot of hope for her, because at her arraignment on Wednesday, she apparently got upset when the magistrate set her bond at $250,000. So Ms. Johnson threw a chair at the judge. Yeah, she threw a chair at the judge. And that's never a good idea when you're at the mercy of the court. Case in point, the judge changed her mind and revoked her bond. Yeah, that's what happens. CPS has placed each child with their biological fathers. And here's what's really strange. Terry Amos Johnson's case comes just months after Kelly Bryant was arrested for doing almost the exact same thing, but worse. Her 3 kids were found abandoned for years in trash and human waste and mold. An occasional DoorDash delivery would apparently appear on the front step, to keep them fed. Joining me now is Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard. He has worked both to the program. Let me start with the obvious. How are these most recent 3 kids doing tonight? Because it really just broke my heart to hear that they had to be split up and go to their biological fathers.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And when I got paged that night when they had discovered a situation, I thought, wait, this can't possibly be happening again. We can't have a situation with 3 kids again in a terrible situation. And sadly, we did.
It's unbelievable, as are the pictures and video that your officers were able to document as evidence of the conditions that these little kids were living in. Speaking of that, I know how officers talk when they get back to the station. It's one thing to see it. What did they really say about it?
Yeah, it's crushing. I mean, one of the most difficult things that we face in our profession is situations where children are the subject of either abuse, neglect, or violence. And, because so many of our folks have kids. And obviously, one of the things is you begin to bring that home and associate, oh my gosh, what if my child, and those kinds of thoughts go through your head. And so it's really difficult for the men and women in uniform to go in a situation where a child is in a terrible moment like this, because it really affects them. They take it home with them. You can't unsee what you see. And so we always provide them with our peer-to-peer support system to have kind of a healthy way, if you will, to process what they see on a daily basis, tragically.
Oh my God, I'm looking at the video and I'm seeing all the flies. I mean, if they're visible on camera, you know how visible they are in person. I just wonder, looking at the Kelly Bryant case where it's alleged she left her children at home, home alone for years. Do you have any evidence that these kids in this particular case had been left more than just this one 24-hour period?
Yes, it's apparently a pattern of late. It hadn't been, according to preliminary information and investigation, that had been going on like that other case for years, but it had been going on for some period of time where she would go away for a day or so at a time, and they would be left alone in this home in this state. And so, it's one of those things where it's hard to wrap your head around. We would remove animals from a setting like this, let alone children's and animals.
No kidding. I'm also wondering, it's hard to distinguish what is what among the filth and trash and refuse all throughout the floors. Do your officers know if there was any edible food, or did these kids look to be malnourished at all?
They were not like the previous case where they literally, in the previous case, they couldn't even walk out to the cars because they had no hygiene. Their toenails were so long that they couldn't even walk out to our patrol cars. It wasn't quite as bad in terms of time and duration that this had occurred with these kids, but obviously, there's going to be an ongoing process to make sure that we check not only their physical health, but their mental health.
Do you know if there was edible food in the home, or if they appeared to be malnourished or thin, or were there any signs that they hadn't eaten properly?
Yeah, most of the stuff in the house at the time was rotted or rotting, but it did not appear that they were, emaciated, if that's the question. But again, how well nourished and how physically, set they were, that's still ongoing, because the first thing we did is obviously move them immediately out to a safe setting and try to deal with that immediacy. And then we'll move into the sustainability, the mental health components, and the long-term viability of where they will stay.
Quick question, only have 10 seconds left, but in Kelly Bryant's case, the children had no hygiene products, no soap, no shampoo, no toothpaste, no nothing. And as you said, toenails so long they couldn't walk. Anything like that in this case?
Well, they didn't have functioning plumbing, so obviously it's very difficult to be hygienic in that scenario. But again, it hadn't been going on for that period of time. It had been going on for a period of time, but it appears to have started sometime this year, and we're still trying to run that down where things started to go off the tracks.
Sheriff Michael Bouchard, God bless you and your officers for rescuing the kids out of that. Keep us posted on these two women and the cases that are mounting against them. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Coming up next, it is a big day today for a half dozen victims of an inexplicable crime in Tennessee. They were women whose lives fell apart after a serial rapist drugged them unconscious and then raped them and their children. Shaun Williams filmed every one of those attacks, and that came back to haunt him in court. After the break, how Williams will be marking today's one-year anniversary after hearing the judge bring the hammer down. Exactly 1 year ago, you may remember breathing a sigh of relief because today is the anniversary that a Tennessee jury told this guy, Shaun Williams, that he was likely never going to see the light of day again. Bye-bye. Williams was convicted of drugging several women unconscious and raping them, and then raping their kids on video. This case may have stood out to you because of the ages of the kids. 7 years old, 4 years old, and 9 months old. Shaun Williams got 95 years for his crimes, and if you still think that's not enough, I'm with you. But take heart. He's still awaiting up to 50 rape cases, 50, where he's accused of doing the same thing, drugging and raping on film. Johnson City, Tennessee. Population 72,000. It is a little slice of heaven that sits just west of the Blue Ridge Mountains in Appalachia. It is known for its endless trails, its stunning views, and bustling nightlife. The bars stay busy until real late, and for years, people in search of after-parties looked no further than the 5th floor apartment of a Johnson City business owner named Shaun Williams. Friends and friends of friends and friends that Williams didn't even know always seemed to be welcome, especially if they were female and especially if they were pretty. But the good times ended on a warm September night in 2020 when a woman named Michaela Evans fell from a window in Shaun Williams' apartment 5 stories up.
Last thing I remember was being in the garage and swinging on his swing and him putting his hands like this and pushing me in a circle 3 times. And I woke up in the hospital.
Miraculously, Michaela Evans survived, but barely. And when police investigated her fall, they found something in Williams' party house that at first seemed unrelated. It was a handwritten list with more than 20 names on it, and alongside those names was the word raped. Police also found ammunition that Williams, who had a felony conviction, was not supposed to have. And that is the point where the feds got involved. One of those feds was a prosecutor named Katari Dahl.
In the transcript of a recording Dahl had made during a meeting with then Johnson City Police Chief Carl Turner and Captain Kevin Peters, she told them, "I think this guy is a clear and present danger to the, honestly, I think he's an ongoing danger to the community." She said getting a warrant is kind of 50-50 at this point. According to the transcript, Turner acknowledged Dahl's concerns, saying, if in fact he has drugged women and taken advantage of them, that's probably going to be what he does in the future.
But before Johnson City Police could manage to arrest Shaun Williams vanished. And he stayed vanished for almost 2.5 years. Eventually, though, as fugitives often do, Shaun Williams turned up. He was asleep in his car at Western Carolina University, and strangely enough, he was parked at a boat launch. And what police found in that car was enough to put him away, even if he hadn't been a fugitive. there was cocaine and meth and phones and laptops. And amidst all of those electronic devices were some very disturbing files. Image after image of clearly unconscious women in various states of undress, being sexually assaulted. But even that wasn't the worst of it. There were also thousands of images of children being sexually abused. A new raft of federal charges followed, and the slow wheels of justice began to turn once again. But so did the wheels in Shaun Williams' head.
Authorities saw him exit the van.
We, as far as I know, they were unaware that he had made his way out of the van at the time that he did escape.
On October 18th, 2023, somewhere between a county jail in Kentucky and the federal courthouse in Greenville, Tennessee, Williams managed to kick out the back window of the transport van and disappear.
They were properly handcuffed and shackled when they arrive and when they go out. So he would have had those, and we understand that he has somehow gotten out of those.
He wasn't one who was much for being locked up. Yet another manhunt was on, but this time the whole country was watching, including the manager of a 7-Eleven store in Florida. 34 days after Shaun Williams had kicked out that window in the jail van, he wandered into that 7-Eleven looking more than just a little bedraggled. The manager was pretty sure right away that that was the guy she'd seen on the news. And so she took a second look, and then she took a third look and decided to call the police.
I saw a photo of him earlier in the day from a deputy, but it was blurry. So when he walks in, I asked my coworker, I was like, is that him? And he was like, I don't think so. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just felt weird about it. So then I was scrolling through Facebook, and a photo of him popped up, a better one, and his tattoo on his arm. And I recognized the tattoo. So that's when I called police and told them, I was like, he was in my store.
It took a couple of cops and a fearless canine officer to corner Shaun Williams and grab him by the collar, which by this point was dirty enough to show how life on the run had not been easy. In separate trials in 2024, Shaun Williams was convicted of escaping the jail van and of production of child pornography. And when the feds pushed for a sentence of 95 years, the judge agreed. Another state trial is also pending in Tennessee, sometime after the federal trial in North Carolina. And at some point after that, the state of Tennessee is expected to charge Shaun Williams with the 52 adult rapes that they say are well documented on his devices. Those assaults date back to at least 2019, raising the question, did no alleged victim ever go to the police before Michaela Evans fell from that 5th-story window back in 2020? We now know the answer is almost certainly yes. More than 300 alleged sex crime victims say they filed reports with Johnson City Police between 2018 and 2022, but that police did little or nothing to investigate. That stunning revelation came in a $28 million settlement of a federal class action lawsuit, a lawsuit launched by 9 women, all going by the name Jane Doe. Each of them said she was raped by Shaun Williams, but then ignored by the Johnson City Police. Michaela Evans also sued the Johnson City PD on her own, and that suit is still pending. And Katari Dahl, remember her? The federal agent who was front and center when the feds launched their probe into Shaun Williams? The federal agent who prompted Shaun Williams' first disappearing act? Yeah, she's suing too. She says the Johnson City Police dragged their feet when it came to the ammo that was found in Shaun Williams' car. She also claims the cops wouldn't even search the computers that they seized from Williams.
You know, the computers they found at the same time they discovered the rape list and all the contraband in Williams' apartment. And here's a really weird twist. Shaun Williams agrees with those who say his hometown cops are corrupt. But he says they didn't shield him. He says they framed him. And even now, Johnson City Police are denying it all, even after that jaw-dropping $28 million settlement paid out to Williams' rape victims, which is incidentally the biggest settlement in Johnson City history.
Coming up next, a man in Pennsylvania is lucky to be alive after being shot in the back with a shotgun. The perp is his best friend and roommate, and police know exactly who he is, but they can't arrest him. It might have something to do with his description. So how on earth did he get his paws on a gun? And how the hell did a dog shoot it? We'll explain the mystery next. When someone is shot, who am I to draw conclusions before the investigation's over? But I gotta be honest, in this case, I feel pretty good saying that the victim here gets all the blame. Police were called after a man in Pennsylvania was shot in the back, and the perp was right there when the cops arrived. It was his dog. His dog! I mean, it's kind of a new one. The man told police that he'd been cleaning his loaded shotgun. Don't get me started. Yeah, cleaning the loaded shotgun before he left it lying on his bed. That's when his dog jumped up and caused the gun to go off. Boom! Shot right in the back. Luckily, the man survived, but he did need surgery. But as police, try to hammer down the details, I have questions. Cleaning a loaded shotgun? Laying it on your bed? All the above when there's a puppy dog in the house? I don't know how the cops are going to treat this one, but this is on you, buddy. And no matter what, your dog is still a good boy. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, check out Drop Dead Serious, my podcast. Have a great weekend. And Cuomo's next.